Let's take you to Parliament this afternoon, where the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Duka, is being vetted right now.
Commissioned gold monitor machine. They locally call it gold catcher. Mr. Chairman, what that machine does is to collect or extract not less than 95% of gold. And Mr. Chairman, I had the opportunity of witnessing a simulation exercise they did, where indeed 95% of the gold was attracted or caught. Mr. Chairman, in that sense, if we use to support the small-scale mining sector, where people illegally rush around through concessions, get away, and just about 30, not more than 40% of gold is in a way gotten or attained, I believe it will go a long way in supporting these concessions where they can ably take their time mine, attract enough gold, and mine responsibly. So I commend the Minerals Commission for such an action, and I commend the Sector Minister, Honorable Samuel Abu-Jinapor, for taking such an initiative. That is to support the community mining concept, where government will be doling out enough gold monitor machines like what Minerals Commission just commissioned to, in a way, augment what, to fill the gaps that are in the system, and that will curb the menace of galamsey.
Right, thank you. My final question. On September 25th, that is 2015, countries, including Ghana, adopted a set of goals to facilitate growth, end poverty, and ensure prosperity for all, as prescribed by the development agenda. Each of the goals has a specific target to be achieved over the next 15 years. Honorable Deputy Minister, I just want to tease your views on the development goals. What, in relation to your ministry, which of the goals relates to your ministry, and how far do you think the ministry have gone to achieve this by 2030, as stipulated? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if you look at the goals, they are kind of intertwined, and they relate to all the sectors. And if we collaborate well with the various sectors, you wouldn't even, or there wouldn't be the need to specify as to which of the goals that are related to your sector, because it runs through education, it runs through finance, it runs through agriculture, it runs through water resources, and obviously comes to lands and natural resources. So it's about the living and sustainability of our lives, and obviously there must be that collaborative effort in washing and tying in all the goals.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Congratulations again, Honorable Nominee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
My first question has to do with land guards in Ghana. I understand perfectly that you are going to be a deputy minister who would be assisting the substantive minister. There are several reports suggesting that one of the biggest challenges for land acquisition in Ghana today, particularly in the urban centers, is the problem of land guards. And we've had some of them killing innocent and rightful owners. We have them intimidating landowners, particularly in the new communities developing. What are your views on land guards, and how can we as a people overcome this challenge? And what would you do as a deputy minister in support of the substantive minister to nip this at the back?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, land guard has been a bane. It has been a challenge to each and every Ghanaian, and I believe is on this premise that Parliament, the 7th Parliament, obviously anxiously passed Act 1036 in 2020, and this act now criminalizes land guards, and I'm happy that that act has been, passed and has addressed that land guard issue. Mr. Chairman, you would also bear with me that obviously double sale of land has, in a way, brought up all this kind of land guard issue, and the act continuing criminalizing that aspect of menace is also a good call by criminalizing it in the Act 1036. So taking into consideration the Act, we need to enforce the laws that are enshrined in the Act. And going with that, I believe with the support of my able minister, who has consciously making sure that even lands that are vested in government or in the states are divested as the law or the Act enshrines. And that's also a good call. So I will support him graciously if you give me the mandate, support him to ensure that the Act that was passed in the last Parliament are really run through.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, again, the New Patriotic Party promised Ghanaians that it will fully decentralize Lands Commission and land services to the district level. Do you know the status of this promise? And what would you do to facilitate the achievement of this promise, even as a deputy minister, because of the various challenges people have in Ghana, just having services, land services, registering their lands. Sometimes you go to the Lands Commission to do official search, and it will take you more than 6 months before you get results, coupled with several other challenges. I believe that if we properly decentralize these services, it will be more effective and many more Ghanaians will benefit more. What would you do to facilitate this promise?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Looking at the Land Use and Spatial Planning Regulations 2019, I believe if you run through, you realize that decentralizing our land is of much concern to this country. And I'm happy that the minister himself, Honorable Samuel Abujanapor, has started so well. He was just with, he was in my region recently to visit the Lands Commission there. I joined him because I'm from Western region, and the leader there testified that it was the first time a minister, a substantive minister, was visiting the outfit. He indicated right at the ceremony that he was going to ensure that we decentralize, the land acquisition system, and that, in a way, he's anxiously embarking on. So he started, as you asked, he started on it. He's working on it, and he will ensure. And I will, with your support and your graciousness, I will assist him to carry on with that mandate that you suggested.
Honorable Chair, the very last question borders on Galamsey and the current policy direction of government banning excavators. Many have criticized this position of government on grounds that we still have a number of district assemblies who are in need of these excavators to just grade their roads or the silt, their choked gutters. What is, I'm asking for your personal view on this issue of banning of excavators. And do you think that it is a sustainable policy to keep banning excavators when these excavators could be put to productive use?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I support the school of thought that says extraordinary situations call for extraordinary measures. Mr. Chairman, as I speak with you, if you go to Indonesia, where other countries have engulfed the area with illegal fishing, they've started sinking most of the fishing boats and burning them. If you go to the island state of Palu, they are burning all the fishing boats there. Mr. Chairman, they could have used this fishing boat for other purposes. Mr. Chairman, if we don't take care, there would be a day that you go out, come back to see someone. Now technology has developed. They can use even 3 days to put up a structure. They put a structure in front of your door and they tell you that it's a structure. There's no need pulling them down or putting some structures on a waterway. They tell you it's a structure. You can use it for clinics and other purposes. So we can put structures in a waterway, and those don't need not to be pulled down. Mr. Chairman, looking at the destruction being meted to our river bodies, I believe, and caution upon caution that have been given by government, I believe these illegal miners must listen to government and stop mining in our river bodies, and rather stop complaining about the burning of excavators. I will, in a way, ensure that if an excavator is spotted in an illegal zone where the perpetrators leave out the keys to these excavators, obviously the military could drive them to the nearest police station. But there are situations the military will get there, they have removed parts of the excavators control board, and these excavators are very heavy. You cannot just in any way carry them or put them on a payloader without getting them sparked. So they just remove some parts and run away, think with a view of coming back at night to use such excavators. If you are protecting the interests of this country and the heritage of this country, I believe it will be prudent to get that machine demobilized.
Mr. Chairman, a quick follow-up on that. Your explanation makes a lot of sense, but the only reason why I disagree is the fact that if the people intend to come back at night to work, proper policing would require that they would mount surveillance and still try to arrest these people together with the keys or those motherboards. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is that we cannot fight illegality with illegality. The process we are adopting now is sine qua non to mob justice. Once you see somebody breaking a law, you can also break the law to deal with the person. And that is a bit more dangerous for our democracy. And so I believe that this is a policy, this burning might be reviewed by government. So if you ever get the chance and you get the opportunity, I think I'm urging you to urge government to review the burning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm also using this platform to urge all those who have interest in mining our river bodies to stop immediately. And that with the intention of fighting this illegality with bipartisan approach by the sector minister, and with the thinking of also reviewing, amending the Mining and Minerals Act. Probably we can consider factoring the burning issues in. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Chairman.
Yes.
Just a follow-up question on extraordinary situations calling for extraordinary measures. Our Constitution makes provision for extraordinary situations. Under those situations, you declare a state of emergency. Are you sure the activities of these illegal miners really creates such an extraordinary situation? If it is, why don't you call a state of emergency under which you can now do the things that you are doing?
Mr. Chairman, it's a illegal mining and a situation where there will be the need for us to import water from neighboring countries like Cote d'Ivoire. Today I saw a video, a pipe-borne water that was so dirty. I was so sad. You know, if we don't take care, we might create a bleak situation for the future where we may be importing water into this country. If that situation is rearing its face, ugly face, obviously it is something that we must be worried about. And I believe taking into cognizance and the aspect of extraordinary measures, I will place that one in the purview of extraordinary measures. But it hasn't gotten to where state of emergency could be declared, Mr. Chairman.
So it's not an extraordinary situation.
Mr. Chairman, depending on how probably you value it, but I see it as an extraordinary situation where we get into a position where we may import water into this country. Water is life, and if we are going to lose our life out of these operations, obviously it's an extraordinary situation, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Honorable Obama.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, my brother.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable, your minister was with us about 3 months ago, and I specifically asked him this question on the ratification of over 300 timber utilization contracts that the EU is threatening Ghana if we don't ratify them, they wouldn't allow companies to export timber to the European Union. I'm sure you are aware of this pending issue with the European Union. And I want to find out from you whether you assist the minister in pushing through these pending contracts so that our brothers and sisters within that space wouldn't have to suffer any penalties or ban from the European Union.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if you take the Timber Resource Management and Legality Licensing Regulation 2017, most of the concerns that you are raising are well spelled, and as you rightly put, I will obviously support my minister to address these concerns. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, secondly, the nominee comes from one of the richest areas in the country, and it's not in doubt. You have all the manganese, you have the bauxite, you have the gold, and what have you. You have Bonsa, Thai, and a lot of resources in your area. But there seems to be a lot of underdevelopment in that area. If you travel on the Agnam-Kwanta-Takwa Road, which Parliament approved a facility for last year, for that 88-kilometer stretch, I want you to tell us, as a committee and as a country, and to the good people of Wassa, what you are going to use your new offices to assist the area to unearth its potential, because it is the richest hub, one of the richest parts of the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it seems the honorable member knows the terrain of my constituency very well. Yes, it is true that we have in gold fields, we have in Anglo Gold, we have in Ghana Manganese. They are all seated in my constituency. Yes, it is true that as I speak with you, the road network there is highly deplorable. Obviously, a facility has been raised, Parliament has approved, and the minister in charge of roads and highways has also assured me, and he has reassured me, that very soon contractor will be on site. The road network is our bane, is our concern, and the people of Takwa will be happy to see a contractor on site, reconstructing Takoradi to Takwa and the tar roads of Takwa. Yes, His Excellency the President has personally indicated to me that he will make sure that the developmental agenda of Takwa is properly restructured in his tenure, and I believe and counting on his prospect and vision, I know Tarkwa will be compared to Johannesburg going forward, and that is the hope of all of us, because the moment our road network is asphalted and worked on, Tarkwa will be a place to visit. If you just look at our landscape and other prospect, what is of our concern is our road network, and I'm happy that you outlined some of the challenges we are facing, but obviously, and that is why we need the JAPA, and that is why we need the Minerals Income Investment Fund, because all this while, as you've already testified, we've been mining over the years, more than 200 years. What do we have to show? So if now a facility, a royalty, is ring-fenced to develop the mining communities, I will obviously and seriously advocate for that facility.
Obviously, you want your roads to be like Asawasi. Good luck. But let me turn your attention to Article 267. 267(7) and 8 of the Constitution. Your roads will one day become like that of Asawasi. Don't worry. Honorable Muntaka, he wants Tarkwa roads to be like Asawasi roads.
He should manage to get it to be quiet first.
Honorable, Article 267(7) and 8, I've seen Nananum behind you, that the administrator of stool lands and regional lands commissions shall consult with the stools and other traditional authorities in all matters relating to the administration and development of stool land, and shall make available to them all relevant information and data. Are we complying with this constitutional imperative? And if not, what are you going to assist them, especially with the information and data for them to be able to know what is happening within their traditional areas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
George Mekuduka, the Deputy Ministerial nominee for the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry. Well, we'll be connecting with our correspondent, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, who is joining us live from the location right now. But before the Deputy Minister, Honorable Mekuduka, came on, the Deputy Minister designate for Energy, Andrew Ejapa Mesa, was there. He said that he disagreed with the former Energy Minister, Peter Amewu's description of the PDS ECG deal as fraudulent. Government terminated the deal in 2019 on claims the insurance covering the deal was acquired fraudulently. But Mr. Mesa says the minister got it wrong. He says he does not see fraud anywhere in the deal.
The corporate law principles are quite clear that a company is separate and distinct from its shareholders, and that indeed PDS, when it was incorporated, has its own directors and secretary. I took the pains to actually do an official search before appearing before your committee, and it's clear who the directors of PDS are and who the shareholders of PDS are. Nowhere is Andrew Ejapa Mesa found in these two categories. But like I said, it was interesting that because the documentation for the transaction had my name as director in one of the shareholders of PDS, then it became easy to associate me with PDS and create the impression as if to say I was connected some way, somehow to PDS. But the truth of the matter is that I'm not a director of PDS, nor am I a shareholder of PDS. Indeed, I'm not even a shareholder of the company that I incorporated for the client. So, question of interest in itself, Mr. Chairman, does not arise, has never arisen, because interest as opposed to fiduciary, which is what directors are, is quite clear. Interests are transferable. They are either real or incorporeal. They are either tangible or intangible. These are property It's a legal construct that is transferable. My role as a director in TG Energy cannot, under any circumstances, be described as transferable to entail me having an interest in that transaction.
Andrew Ejapa Mensah, the Deputy Ministerial Nominee for the Energy Ministry. Like you said, like you heard him say, he talks about his position with the PDS and, of course, whether or not there are interest there. Well, Joseph will be joining me shortly, but the minority in Parliament has raised concerns about some finances in the custody of PDS that ought to be transferred to the ECG, which has not been done. The Member of Parliament for Boko Central had issued that 200 million cedi amount, which is said the PDS has allegedly refused to send to the ECG after the deal was abrogated. Mr. Mensah says the PDS cannot have the money without the involvement of ECG because it sits in an escrow account. As you know, the PDS has sued government over the abrogation of the deal, and the Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak says that Mr. Mensah will struggle in his position because a company that he works for, which is TG Energy Solution, was one of the PDS consortium partners. But Mr. Mensah disagrees. Joseph Oboku Gakpo has been monitoring the vetting for us. He's joining me to give us some more. Hello, Joseph.
Yeah.
Joseph, let's focus on what is happening right now, which is the vetting of George Mreku Duka. We got in at a point where he was talking about burning of excavators and the fact that he supports it. He believed that it's time to legislate that action. What else has he been saying as far as the position he's defending himself for is concerned?
On that in particular, he makes the point that extraordinary situations require extraordinary measures. He's been citing instances of happenings in Indonesia where he says that some fishing vessels involved in illegal fishing are being sunk and burnt in Indonesia. He also cited a situation in a state in Ireland where he says people who are engaged in related illegal activities, the equipment that they use are being destroyed. So he insists that as far as he is concerned, there is nothing wrong with the burning of excavators, because even in some instances, those who have been using some of these excavators for illegal activities remove the necessary tools that will make it possible to move them from the site. And then they come back in the night to then come use them for the same activities, which is how come he is actually very much in support of any such move. He's also been responding to questions having to do with his role as chairman of the Mineral Income Investment Fund. He had been in that role as chairman of the board of that particular fund up until the expiration of the last administration of the Akufo-Addo government. And he was asked a question about whether he would want to continue keeping his role as chairman of that particular board, even as he serves as Deputy Minister of the Land and Natural Resources Ministry. And he made the point to the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, that if the president wants him to continue serving in that position, he will continue to do that, and he doesn't see any case of conflict of interest, because that particular fund is under the Ministry of Finance and not necessarily his ministry as the Ministry of Land and Natural Resources. He's also been commenting generally on efforts being made to actually protect the country's forests, and he gave the statistics to show that the nation had more than 8 million hectares of forest as at the beginning of the 1900s, which have been depleted badly. And so he will be supporting his minister to ensure that there are more afforestation efforts and that more artificial forests are created to help protect the environment going forward.
Joseph, let's wrap up with what else is happening in Parliament today, apart from these vettings.
The Deputy Minister Designate for the Education Ministry, Reverend John Intimfojo, also appeared before the committee, apart from Andrew Ejapa Mensah, who appeared a little earlier. And essentially, Reverend Intimfojo has been defending the free senior high school policy, and he's been dismissing claims that it's a case of sacrificing quality for quantity with the introduction of the free senior high school education. And he gave some statistics to indicate that with the WASI that was written by the students just a few months ago, when you look at the students who scored 8-1, Ghana recorded more than 88% of the total number of students who scored 8-1s. And for him, that's an indication that the free senior high school program is actually delivering quality output. Well, a little later in the day, we're expecting the vetting of Tina Mensah, who is Deputy Minister Designate, headed to the Ministry of Health. She has been in the position over the last 4 years and is returning to that particular position. The House itself is not sitting today. Mondays are usually off days unless they have something extraordinary they need to take care of, but they'll be returning to the plenary tomorrow, even as the appointment committee continues vetting more deputy ministerial nominees.
Joseph, thank you very much for that update there. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is Parliamentary Affairs Correspondent.